Okay.
Oh, we're
And Keisha,
recording.
if it's not already, will you just stick it in speaker view just so it records that way? Yep. Thank you. Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for calling in for our weekly Dreamers in Action team call. I hope everybody is loving the seasonal shake and the cycle boost, because on a Tuesday, it's pretty fun to be scrolling through and looking at some of your back offices. If you've not already done it, I mean, absolutely do a text split, do a Facebook message. I mean, do whatever it takes to connect with your new customers, your current customers, and just let them know about this amazing, amazing Mocha seasonal shake. It's going to be incredible. I'm sure it's going to sell out in the next, 24 hours, and you don't want people to miss it. Remember, if you buy 6 or more of any product, Chris, you might want to mute for 1 second. If you guys can just mute your cell phones or mute on the computer, Keisha, mute everybody but me, maybe if necessary. Click on since you're hosting. Thank you so much. It just helps have a clean line. 6 of any product, you guys, you get 10% off. So you don't even have to buy 6 mocha. It's just 6 shakes. So if your family needs a couple chocolate, a strawberry, and then 3 mocha or whatever, grab the discount and teach your people how to do the exact same thing. So I just want to say I'm so proud of some people that I know have been really, really proactive lately and really, really focused on keeping the summer sprint and having momentum over the warmer months and not taking their foot off the gas. So he's had 7 enrollments last week, you guys. That's a big deal. I mean, she's just crushing June Boom. She won the Pina Colada. I know that Melanie had over 40 pre-sold containers of mocha last night before midnight from just being really, really proactive, and just so excited of you guys. And Megan Kondo's on the cusp of Crystal Manager, so send her some good juju. I'm like, I know we're doing that by Sunday, and just really, really fun to see everybody's success. So I want to just share one story with you guys from Top Achievers before I turn the call over. But some of you know David Wood, some of you don't. If you're not familiar with him, I totally recommend you either download Amplified Network Marketing or whatever that is. You guys can find it if you type in David Wood and Amplified. And also his Kick-Ass Lifestyle podcast. I mean, there's just great recordings on there and great training. But he's Eric Cooper's mentor. He's been mentoring him for over a decade. He is one of the master personal development trainers for the entire company. He always, thank you, Jen and Adam, for putting their correct name in there. He always trains at NYKO Celebration. He's doing the leadership training. He's phenomenal. He's absolutely incredible. In Top Achievers, he did a training and he opened it up with, I want you to get with a partner and I want you to share your story on what your life was like before Isagenix, right? I want you to talk about what it was like before Isagenix came into your life. And if I was going to share my story with Keisha, I would tell her, before Isagenix, I exchanged time for money. Before Isagenix, I was paycheck to paycheck at best. Before Isagenix, I had never done personal development. I wasn't really traveling. I was buried in debt. I had no savings. I wasn't fulfilled, whatever that may be. If Keisha were to tell me her story, she might talk about that she was burnt out, that, her financial income was capped, that she wasn't spending the time she wanted to with her daughter, that she was overweight, that she had no energy, that she was addicted to energy drinks, right? I mean, that was part of her story. And everybody kind of collaborated. And then David asked us to yell out adjectives of our partners' stories and what they were like before Isagenix, you guys. And we were yelling out things like tired, exhausted, overweight, broke, trapped, unfulfilled, all of these things. And you start to see how Isagenix has shifted your life. You start to see how it's impacted your life and all these other people. And he asked everybody to close their eyes. And I actually want to encourage all of you to do this right now, unless you're driving. Laura, I can't tell if you're parked or driving. If you're driving, don't close your eyes. But anybody who's not driving, close your eyes, please. I can see most of you. Holly, don't make me call you out. I can see you. And I want you to think about if Isagenix had not been gifted to you. If Isagenix had not been introduced to you, how different would your life be? What would you be doing right now? And keep them closed for a second, you guys. I'm serious. Go there for just a second. Participate. Roseanne, Melanie, come on. It's not that long. Just imagine if Isagenix wasn't in your life, okay? Think about the sticky pounds you might still be carrying, the low energy you might still be experiencing, the bank account that you might not be having. The recognition, the fulfillment, the friendships, the places you've traveled, wherever it may be, you guys can open your eyes. And you have to go to that place and imagine where it was like, and let that be something that drives you, something that propels you forward. And the pivotal question that David asked all of us, you guys, and there was not a dry eye in the room when he went there. He said, what if Jim and Kathy had become so comfortable in retirement they had not created Isagenix? What if they had been so comfortable in retirement they didn't do this for all of us? And a lot of it has to do with, there's a lot of multiple six-figure income earners in there and seven-figure income earners at Top Achievers. And it was like, you guys don't ever get comfortable. Like Kathy Cooper will be in the grave, like, one more call. You know, I've still got work to do. And if she's working that hard, like, we all should be working that hard. And it's because we've been so impacted that we're on this call that we have this ability to impact others. And all day yesterday, all day today, like all day Sunday on the plane, I literally just journaled about that. What in the heck would I be doing if Isagenix had not been in my life? And then the thing that connects me the most, more than the financial changes, more than the places I've traveled, more than the freedom lifestyle, was all of you. And I just sat there like totally bawling in the Calgary airport thinking, I wouldn't have a Jen Fichter, a Laura, a Kisa, a Kristen, a Melanie, a Colleen, a Netta. None of you guys would be in my life. And that's the part that's the most fulfilling, that I'm like, I'm so motivated right now. Like, I've talked to more people in the last 2 days than I have the last 2 months because I'm on fire about this amazing gift that we have. So I want to turn the call over to Chris Marshall, who not only epitomizes the culture of this team, you guys, he has the biggest heart, the hardest working, the most genuine, the most loyal. He will help every single one of you. And I'm trying to figure out when this man sleeps, because I'm convinced I don't sleep, and I'm messaging Chris first thing in the morning and at night. So he must really not sleep, but that's because his heart is on fire. So Chris Marshall has hit the 5-cycle bonus a couple times. He's totally the team dad, Kristen. He's a Crystal director. He will be a Crystal executive and is just a huge leader on the team. I know he's got some guest speakers as well, but I want to shut up and introduce him to the call to train on one of the most important topics, which is our why. Chris, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Hey, it's so great to figure this whole Zoom thing out, right? I've only been doing this for 9 months. Can you guys hear me now? Look at all these bright smiling faces. So I want to get right into a few people that I've asked to share some different things. And really, we're going to have to talk to, I think we're going to have to change her name to Kisa Hagedorn here pretty soon, because she is just enrolling like crazy and changing lives. So Kisa, could you unmute and give us sort of your brief business story and maybe share a little bit about what changed in the last couple of weeks for you?
Well, I don't have my pink blazer, and like Lynn has in that video that we all know and love, but thank you. Chris had asked me to elaborate a little longer than like the normal 30-second story, so I will. But before Isagenix, it was about 3 years ago when Lauren introduced me, and I was working a full-time job at an insurance company. I was not loving it, but it was a good paying job, and they were working on promoting me when I first was introduced to Isagenix. And I obviously fell in love with the products first, but really quickly, Lauren, before actually she even enrolled me, she had presented the opportunity to me. So it was something that always stuck with me. Once I had talked to 2 of my friends and had gotten them on board, I really just, I don't know, there was something in the pit of my stomach that was just telling me that this was the right thing. This was what I was looking for. I have a daughter that's now 14, but she was, obviously 3 years younger at the time. And she just, her whole life, I've been a single mom, and was always hard splitting time. But then the time that I did have with her after school was spent working. And so I only had a few hours with her at night and a couple, the weekends a month. And so that was always pretty difficult for me. So when I saw the opportunity and had that vision, that time freedom, that time to spend with her really became my why. So, in the pockets of my time, which wasn't a lot, I really made the effort to learn as much as I could about Isagenix, get on 3-way calls, get on team calls, do everything that I could just to absorb knowledge. I went to my first event about a month after I enrolled, and that was a game changer for me. I just saw the culture of Isagenix and just knew that I was at the right company at the right time. So about 6 months after I started, after a lot of hard work, I ended up making the decision to go down to part-time because I just looked around at the women in my office who were twice my age and miserable. And I just knew that that was not a life that I wanted for myself. And once I was able to do Isagenix full time, it really became a big passion of mine. And, you know, over the last couple of years, you know, obviously there's been a lot of peaks and valleys and wall kicking moments and moments when I worked really, really hard and moments where I was able to kind of coast a little bit just because of the work that I had done previously. But back in August, something happened to me that's pretty personal, and it really was just something that shifted my energy focus away from Isagenix. I just couldn't really get unstuck and was not really making the effort in my business. I didn't feel like talking to people. I kept posting, but I really do believe that energy is something that connects you and is felt even when you're kind of trying to put on a facade. And that's really what I had been doing for a while. And so I wasn't really enrolling that much. I definitely wasn't rank advancing. And I just knew that something had to change. I just didn't know really how to get myself out of it. So just a couple weekends ago, I went up to San Francisco to see Lauren and go to Super Saturday. And I was able to bring Reese to that. And it was there that I really remembered my why again. And just that, a couple of years ago, that would have been something I would have had to ask for time off to do. And probably honestly wouldn't have had the money to do it either. And so I just shifted my mindset and shifted my energy and just, kind of just regained that confidence back that I feel like I had lost over the last 10 months. And something just shifted. I reached out to everyone terminated in my business and everyone inactive. And what's funny is even the people, I only ended up enrolling one person out of my terminated list. Everyone else was brand new people that actually had contacted me. And so I totally believe that it was the energy shift. There's just no other real explanation. So I wasn't doing anything different in terms of my posting or necessarily connecting with people, but I really just believe that people can feel that energy. And so I'm sure a lot of people go through those ups and downs, but just know that if you can work on getting your mindset in a better place and your energy, that you'll inspire people and people will feel that and, be drawn to you. So thanks.
That is awesome. Thank you, Kisa. So everything changed for you at an event. So we have this little event coming up in August, and really, I've got my tickets and my plane flights. We all should be there because it'll be life-changing. Thank you so much. And then Laura Hanrahan, if you could unmute yourself and kind of give us your 30-second product story, because I know it's a great one.
Thanks, Chris. It'd be my honor and privilege. So before Isagenix, I had moved. I was a size 8, and with menopause and the changes, I went from an 8 to a 10, from a 10 to a 12, from 12 to a 14, and was literally at wit's end. I was depleted of energy, I was addicted to coffee, and yet I was still exhausted all the time. So I reached out to Jen, and she introduced me to the products. This was about almost 2 years ago. And literally within 3 or 4 days of starting the products, I started feeling this inner thinness is what I described it. I didn't look any thinner, but inside I felt better. I was waking up before the alarm. I had tons of energy at the end of the evening to pour into my family the way I felt they deserved to have me. Overall, I lost 30 pounds. So my non-scale victories, I was able to get my engagement ring back on, slip into my heels, which thankfully I didn't throw away, and got a new wardrobe. So I feel everyone deserves to feel amazing, have energy to pour into their family, and be healthier. So that's why I'm on these calls.
Cool. Thank you, Laura. That was awesome. Well done. And then I have the amazing, incredible Adam Feichter, who's going to talk to us about our product spotlight of the week, which is IsaPro. And I can see that he is a user of the product and he's ready to go. So Adam, take it away.
Yes, super excited. IsaPro product spotlight, one of my absolute favorite products, and not just for people that are in the gym, literally for anybody. So this amazing product has high quality, undenatured whey protein packed with 18 grams of protein per scoop and only 90 calories. Whey, as we know, is one of the most effective ways to build muscle, burn fat. This product has a complete branched chain amino acid profile, a great post-workout shake, and also helps bust through weight loss plateaus. So a huge thing to add. The Belly Buster Challenge, as we all know, is a huge way to get through those plateaus. And I don't know if anyone's ever done a whey day, and you don't really see it that much, but it is a great alternative or a great supplement to a cleanse once in a while, and it just mixes it up, and I have absolutely loved those. And it comes in chocolate vanilla. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you very much.
Hey,
So I got
Chris, can I hop in for 1 second?
Please.
You guys, one of the things that I love with the whey protein only, and I post this in cleansers, outside of just the drink, like Adam gave great ideas, with the bedtime belly buster. Some people do the Isoline with IsaPro just to get more protein in it if they don't have Isoline Pro. Like, for instance, if you buy the mocha, and that's only 24 grams of protein. If you add in a scoop of the IsaPro, now you've got, closer to 40 grams of protein, but, different flavors or whatever. But it's also really fun to use to make stuff with. So like when I used to compete, I would do oatmeal in the morning and then add a scoop of protein in it and have like protein oats. So you're not always drinking something, but ways to get protein in. You can look up the protein nut butter balls. So like people do peanut butter, crushed up Isa Delights, the IsaPro, honey, and make like nut butter balls, which is a great pre-workout or snack. But if you Google like IsaPro recipes or even just protein pancakes, protein muffins, protein donuts, and use IsaPro, which is the best, undenatured whey protein as opposed to something else, you can find foods that you don't feel like you're drinking a shake, but that we're getting that protein pacing and increasing the overall amount of protein we're putting in our diet. So maybe in our cleansers page, if you guys find a cool recipe or something you love, like protein pancakes or, protein donuts or protein bread or something of that sort, share the recipe because it's a great way to get protein in your diet without drinking another drink. So now I'm going to shut up and it's all you, Chris.
And I just checked, just throwing it out there, that the chocolate's back in stock now too. So.
Sweet. I just ordered vanilla the other day and chocolate wasn't there. So I have a quick story. I read this in USA Today. There's this lady that lives in Adams part of New Jersey. She's gotten 6 speeding tickets in the last month, and the interviewer finally caught up with her and said, "Why on earth are you doing this?" She said, "I keep hoping that Adam Feichter will pull me over so I can stare at him." So this stuff really works. Okay, so enough of that. So we're going to talk tonight about our why. What is it that motivates us? What is it that makes us do these crazy conference calls and all these other things? I am going to try to share my screen and show you a lovely picture from a few years ago when my daughter was at a beauty pageant. So let's see if this works. Yep. Can you guys see that? Yes, no? Okay. So this is my daughter Lizzie when she was at a beauty pageant. Now we're going to go back into the Zoom. And it was interesting because all these kids were like 11 or 12 years old. Stop share. Okay, now I got it. So what a great picture. But at one point they did interviews and they asked all the kids, what do you want to do when you grow up? And the group was completely evenly split. Half of them wanted to be veterinarians, and half of them wanted to grow up to be actresses. But it's interesting that you don't have to teach kids how to have a why. Kids know what they want. They're not afraid to dream big and to think about the future. And I don't know that, I mean, my daughter did not become an actress or a vet. So I don't know that half the room ever got to that point. But what was cool is they had something they were going through, something they were going for. They had somebody that kept them in school, that kept them studying, and it was a why. So that was just me gratuitously sharing a picture of my second daughter. Thank you for that. So I want to talk about finding your why, about chasing your why, and growing your why. And so I have notes I think will be good in the time that we have, but I just want to start at the beginning. What is a why? Because we talk about your why, and some people even ask me, what is that about? Because when you're in traditional business, your boss will never sit down with you and say, I want you to write out your why. So really a why is just something that motivates you. And that could be anything you need to do in life, whether it's to work or exercise, whether it's to spend money or save money, whether it's to improve yourself or learn or grow in your relationships or really anything. Your why is just your motivation. It's your goal. It's your aim in life, right? And there's lots of different kinds of whys. I could have a financial why. So Laura Hanrahan wanted to get her wedding ring back on and get back in her heels. Well, that's not my goal, but that's her goal. And so that was a very powerful driver for her. These could be relational things. I want to improve my marriage. I want to have a better relationship with my kids, et cetera, et cetera. So there's really a couple different kinds of whys as I worked through this. There are positive whys, things that I want to do, maybe that I'm not able to do now. So Kisa talked about being able to take vacations that maybe you couldn't take before. People want to pay a bill. I mean, I know people, their whole why is to have a zero balance on their credit card. Maybe people want to get out of debt. Maybe that means for them their car and their house. People want to get a new car. You know, has anybody had like the 200,000 mile car and you really, really just want to get something different? So these are all positive things that can motivate. Maybe you just want to be able to share more and be generous. You're tired of seeing those Humane Society commercials on TV and you can't afford to send them money or adopt a puppy. It looks like Amanda's got her puppy. So, you know, there's so many things. Maybe you just want to create a residual income for Make-A-Wish. Maybe you'd love to give them $100 a month or $1,000 a month. And generosity is your why, okay? Maybe you want to just prove something to yourself. You know, I was in 8 network marketing companies before this. I want to prove that I can do this. And I've had success for the first time in 9 ventures. So see, I'm out of fingers. So I had to make this one work. Anyway, maybe you want to prove something to family or friends. Maybe you want to help people get healthier. So my wife lost nearly 40 pounds on Isagenix. She's going to have a knee replacement. We'll be able to do crazy stuff like walk around the block after dinner and hold hands. So that's part of my why. My daughter lost 40 pounds and she just feels so much better. She had to get rid of her clothes and buy new clothes, but that's okay. Maybe you want to help people change their financial blueprint. You know, I had an Uber the other night with a guy that worked for 17 years in IT and got laid off just suddenly. He has a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 3-month-old. And he hates driving. So we've talked and we've shared videos and he's, you know, who knows where that'll go, but he wants to change his financial blueprint. Or maybe you just want to hang out with the cool people. So I got to Crystal Director. Everybody should do it because then you start getting leadership emails and texts and you realize this is an amazing group of people just to run with. So ask yourself the question, what would it feel like if I paid off my house, paid off my car, gave money to charity, put my kids in private school? How would that make you feel? I think we'll all agree that it would make you feel amazing, right? Now, there are also negative whys. And Tony Robbins talks a lot about you should focus on what you want rather than what you don't want. But I respectfully disagree with Tony. And the reason is, you know, like, what if your why is just to not lose your job? You haven't heard about Isagenix. You know, there are people that do all kinds of things for jobs that don't serve them. They'll come in early, they'll still stay late, they'll take calls on weekends, and they'll put up with 0.2% of a pay raise. My wife would come out of her annual review. She was the best employee in the office, got 20 cents an hour raise. I mean, it's not even worth the gas to drive to work hardly. So people will do all sorts of things to keep a job. People will do all sorts of things to save a relationship. How many people finally change their life because that spouse or significant other says, you have to quit drinking or I'm out of here. You have to treat me nicely or I'm out of here. So that's a big motivator for people, and people want to avoid that. How would you like to not lose your house or not lose your car? Everybody knows Les Brown. He's a great motivational speaker, and he's like a gazillionaire. But when he was just getting started in his business, he actually got a call from the bank that they had repossessed his car. And his response was, I've been parking it at my cousin's house. How did you know where it was? Well, they figured it out. So he was doing things to try to not lose his car, and that can be really powerful. Kisa was doing things to not miss time with her kid. People do things to not get their electric shut off. So there's so many things that we want, but there's things that we're also avoiding. And I think in some cases, it's the negative whys, the things that we want to not have, that really motivate us. And sometimes it's the positive whys. It's the dreams of a better future. So that's what I have so far. This is all going very quickly. So thank you for hanging on, and we'll just go for that. So one thing about your why, everybody has a different why. You know, I was joking that Laura Hanrahan wanted to get into her high heels, and that is not an interest of mine. But her goals are her goals. My goals are my goals. You know, it doesn't even have to be a huge thing. If you meet somebody who wants to have an extra $100 a month, and that turns them on, and they're willing to get out and try some products or share with some people, then $100 a month is important for them. It doesn't have to be the same thing. My why doesn't have to interest you. Yours doesn't have to interest me. We'll talk in a little bit about being inspired by other people. But I have a real quick story. We have some friends, and they have a special need child. She's like 23, 24 now, but she was born with some physical stuff and emotional stuff, and she actually qualified for a Make-A-Wish trip. And they were going to take her and her family anywhere in the country and do anything. They could go to Hawaii, they could go to Disneyland, they, you know, all this stuff. She wanted to go on a farm and pet chickens. That was her thing. That was what she understood would be fun. And doggone it, her family went on a Make-A-Wish trip to some farm in Pennsylvania from Missouri, and they let her pet chickens. So that was her why. That's what got her excited. I know they were probably coaching her to pick Disney World, but that's what she picked. And really, that's what motivated her. So one of our goals as coaches is what motivates our people, and how can we encourage them? How can we inspire them? Hey, what will it be like when you can take a vacation with your daughter and not worry about the money or the time off? What will it be like when your credit card is paid off? So if we can help understand people's whys, it's really, really powerful. So there are some questions we can ask ourselves as we think about our why, because I don't think that, you know, once we leave that magical time of childhood when we want everything, we sort of have to relearn this. So ask some questions of yourself. What if you won the lottery? Okay? I mean, odds are not good, we know that, but we still buy tickets. What if you won the lottery? What would you do first? If the first thing you would do is go to Hawaii, then put that on your vision board and make it happen. Make it happen through Isagenix. Where would you live? If you don't like the city you're living in, and the only thing keeping you there is a job that doesn't serve you, or economic stuff, where in the world would you live? Start thinking in a different way. Because if you won the lottery, you suddenly wouldn't use limiting thinking. What would you do that you don't do now? I think somebody would clean my house. I think I would never lift a broom or a vacuum. I think that would be incredible. Somebody might come and cook my meals and go to the store, and I would create jobs. So that interests me. So why don't I make that happen? What are some things I would no longer do? Well, again, housework. Maybe I would no longer pay bills every month because everything would be paid for. What are some things that I just would be relieved of if I won the lottery? Okay. And then who or what would I support? What homeless mission? What Make-A-Wish Foundation? What charity? What good cause? What noble endeavor would I support? You know, Bill Gates, I don't know what anybody thinks of Bill Gates. He's run a single-handed campaign to end polio worldwide. It's cost him $2 billion. And I know he's got it, but that was one of his whys way back when he was a tech geek at Microsoft, was to be able to impact world health. And so he is on his way to a day when there is no more polio in the world. And it'll go down in history that he paid for that. So what kinds of things could we do if money really was not an object? What does somebody else do that I wish I could do? You guys know I just went to Egypt. I got to ride a camel on Hump Day, which was awesome. I got to go in one of the 3 Great Pyramids. I got to be on a river cruise with my daughter, and I'm thinking, gosh, this is a trip of a lifetime. So I met 2 ladies in our tour group that have trips like that 3 times a year. And it made me think, I want to be inspired by their why, which is to always be traveling. They're trying to remember the countries that they haven't been to because the countries they've been to are too many to count. So we can actually be inspired by somebody else's why. There was a recent podcast. You guys have to listen to Isagenix podcast. This lady was at some point in her business, found herself single, met another lady who was single and had some kids, and she bought Christmas for that whole family. Like got the kids' wish lists, got the mom's wish list. She and her kids went and they bought everything and sent them a dinner and sent them the whole thing. So listen to what great things other people have done and let those things inspire you as well. Because I wouldn't have thought of that, honestly, but somebody else came up with that great idea. I've got one more. So there was this guy named Josh Feuerstein. If you have not listened to Chris Harder's new podcast, which is called For the Love of Money, you've got to listen to it. His whole premise is that when good people make good money, they do great things. So he's interviewing this guy who's a famous social media celebrity. And this guy's in a Starbucks and he just feels like buying the coffee of the guy behind him. So he says, I'll buy your drink and I'll buy your muffin or whatever healthy garbage they have at Starbucks. And the guy said, okay, well, the guy that he did this for was the CEO of a huge company. And he got connected with a missionary in India, and now he's financing the drilling of freshwater wells all over India. So I listened to that. I'm like, well, I could do that. It costs $1,000 to drill a well in a foreign country. I could do that. What if I did 10 of those? What if I did 100 of those? So listen to other people. When they're doing something great, what will tell you that it's for you is when your heart races and you get excited. So again, think of things you want. Think of things you want to avoid. Look around you for inspiration. And you don't have to look far. Look at the people on this call. Man, I would love to just do some of the crazy things that Lauren does or Kisa does or some different people do and do it all the time. That's why I'm working really hard to fire my boss in my other business, even though that's me. So that's the deal. So we talked about finding our why. We talked about ways to do that. We talked about things that can inspire us. Now I want to talk just real briefly about chasing the why. Once you have something in mind, once you have something that turns you on, that gets you going, that keeps you up at night, I'll tell you what your why can do and why it's worth chasing. One moment. I feel like I'm doing all the talking, which is typical. Okay. Your why helps you pick up the phone when it's heavy. Has anybody ever experienced that your like 6-ounce cell phone weighs 20 pounds when you have to call that certain person to talk about Isagenix? When that happens to me, I start thinking about taking another vacation this year or all the things in my why. And it's like, you know, if I don't call this person, I can't do that. So I call them, okay? Your why will help you stay up a little later. I'm not talking about abusing your sleep, but it'll help you stay up a little later or get up a little earlier. It'll help you organize your time. How many people have to organize their time because they get a second job at night making $10 an hour? Well, we have to organize our time because we're starting an empire of healthy people all over the world. And having that why will make us organize things, maybe delegate things, maybe find people who can clean the house or walk the dog or whatever so that we can reach out and bless people. So your why will help you, especially when there's a deadline. So we just had this crystal reset and there was a crystal director deadline. And I think I talked to Laura like every 10 minutes the last day. And the deadline was 11 o'clock at night St. Louis time, and I qualified at 10:40. That's when I told Laura that it was late enough and she could go to bed now because we were done. And that's when I enrolled my last person. But when your why has a deadline and it's written down and you tell people about it, it's so, so powerful, okay? And then when you have a why, share it with people. If some of you want, put your why in the chat box right now. Something that motivates you, something that inspires you, something that gets you on a call on a Tuesday night when you have a million other things you could do. We'll just encourage each other right now. And then finally, make a vision board. And I'm going to ask everybody, I have a picture of mine somewhere, but I'm going to ask us to post our vision board in the comments on Facebook on this call. And if there's 50 vision boards, then great, we can take and we can learn. And I will see things that Jackie wants to do or Kristen wants to do or Adam wants to do. And I'll think, I ought to do that too. It's like Christmas. We just want one more thing, right? And that's good. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, and yes, this actually will end. The last thing that I want to talk about is growing your why, okay? So your why is a journey. It's not a destination. Like personal development is not like, oh, now I'm clever, now I'm generous or kind or patient, because I can always be better, right? So your why, you may start out wanting to pay a couple bills or fit into your wedding ring or whatever. But as you go and as you see more, it becomes more and more powerful. And you're like, oh my gosh, where can this go? Okay. Maybe I start off just wanting to eat for free. Maybe I want to pay off the credit card. Maybe I want to take a vacation and not charge it. Maybe I want to pay off my car, pay off my house. Maybe I want to send my kids to college without student loans. You know, the average student gets out of college with $60,000 to $80,000 in loans, which means we should sponsor every single college graduate because they all need to get out of debt, right? But what about giving your kids a head start so that that's not the deal? What about paying off the house? What about leaving a legacy? What about leaving a legacy? And, you know, the crazy thing is I meet people and they're just really not motivated by money. They just really don't care how much they have or how much they don't have. So if money doesn't motivate you, make a lot and send it to me because it motivates me. And if you don't want to do that, send it to Make-A-Wish. Find a great cause. You know, the longer you go, the more reasons you'll find to build an empire of healthy people who are well off and who are melting on the scale. And that's what it's about. And the last thing I want to share is when you get around big thinkers, you know why Isagenix took Lauren to Canada for this whirlwind, like 3-day trip? Because they want to get her around a bunch of Lauren Sims so that their heads can all explode, so that they can get so motivated and so excited and have such an increase in their why and their vision that they can lead all of us. So hang around big thinkers and you'll be a bigger thinker. So that is it. I just really want to encourage us all, think about your why, post your vision board in the comments, motivate each other, call somebody randomly on the team and say, what's your why and how can I help you? How can I encourage you? How can I help you plan that out? You know, my daughter wanted to go to Egypt for 1.5 years. 1.5 years, she bugged me about that. So we finally did it and we had an amazing, amazing trip. But her why was to see the place of biblical history and where the pharaohs were and where Moses was and all that stuff. And her why literally propelled us on that trip. And she saved for 1.5 years and we went on that trip debt-free. And so I just want to encourage you, if you're like having a hard time figuring out your why, call somebody else and explain it to them. That is all. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that this was helpful for some people. And I hope that we all, Amanda's about to get assaulted by this.
Hey, don't hang up yet, you guys, real fast.
Yeah.
Chris, awesome job. Awesome
Thank you.
job. You guys, if you've never listened to Peta Kelly's, when she trains on the Wyatt Celebration about 3 years ago, it's one of the best pieces I've ever seen done. Another one you can find is Hillary Courtney. She trained on the Wyatt Celebration a couple years ago, just to really kind of further get you to see what Chris is saying and, you know, how to tap into that emotional thing. But in a nutshell, you guys, it's why you do what you do, you know, and think about other areas in your life outside of Isagenix. Like, why do you work out? You know, why is that important to people if that's something you do? Or maybe why don't you? Why do you read your kids' books before bed? You know, why do you choose to eat organic? Why do you choose to eat healthy? Why do you choose to have gratitude? What is it that you that you're doing, and understand, like, why do you have to do that? And the main thing with Isagenix, when we talk about knowing your why, and this being what launches you forward in your business, is because your why has to be what helps you overcome your fear. The why has to be so great that it brings you to tears. Your why has to be so powerful that you're going to overcome any fear to make those things happen. So Kristen is so courageously typing in the comments, you know, about her daughter and why Zoe is her why. And some of you may or may not know the details of that situation, but I can promise you that when Kristen has someone on her chicken list, when Kristen's tired, when Kristen doesn't necessarily want to follow up with someone, she thinks about Zoe and she gets into massive action, right? Because that's something that propels her. Jen and Adam have a huge why, right? When they think about the alternative, that keeps them going, that keeps them reaching out to their scary list. It keeps them, you know, giving up certain sacrifices, TVs and movie nights and date nights and margarita parties to be working this business. And when Chris is talking about the journey of the why, your why now is different than your why then, and it's going to evolve. And actually, Chris is such a perfect example of someone who's done Healthy Mind and Body and done it well. But he reached out to me about a week ago or maybe 2 weeks ago and said, hey, one of the homework exercises was, what's your why? And I said, you know, it's so funny because 3 years ago, my why was to furnish a, you know, apartment. We had nothing. And I didn't want to sleep on the floor, and I didn't want to sit on the floor, and I didn't want to eat off paper plates or get to go all the time. So that was my why. Where then it was, I wanted to retire my dad, or I wanted to pay off my student loans, or I wanted to pay off a credit card, or whatever it was. And today, a huge part of my why is because I don't have to set an alarm clock. I don't have a boss. I can wear whatever I want, like those types of things that are my ideal life. I want other people to have that. But that's what keeps me driven. That's what keeps me going, more than any recognition, more than anything else. And so just remember that, you guys, and spend some time asking yourself, what do I want so badly that I'm willing to sacrifice X, Y, Z for? What do I want so badly that I'll cry if I don't get it? What do I want so badly that I will overcome any fear in order to make that happen? So Chris, I think you did a phenomenal job. I'm so proud of you. You guys definitely, in the comment sections of Dreamers, post your why. Let us know. Let's hold each other accountable. Max the mess out of Mocha. If you guys have not done your 3x3, at bare minimum, hang up with us right now. 3 contacts, 3 follow-ups, 3 inactive people. Let's make our team have more, you know, Mocha sales than any other team in the company. Love you guys. Thank you all for sharing your stories. Thank you for a great call, Chris. And Keith said, Chris, if you guys can get me the recording, so I put it up on YouTube, we'll do that.
Thank you. This was awesome.
Good job, Chris.
Thank you.